There's no, yay, all right, thank you.
Yep, we're figured
Okay,
out here.
all right, we got it. All right, everybody, welcome and thank you for joining us and participating in the career webinar from the Lighthouse for the Blind. My name is Cheryl Cummings. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Workforce Development Manager here at the Lighthouse. I'm a Black American woman who is blind. Today, I am joined by my co-presenter, Marian Gilmore, who will introduce herself in a moment. There are also two ASL interpreters who are here on screen and will spotlight themselves throughout the webinar. I also have with me Ian Stenson, who has graciously volunteered to be our moderator or host today. Elena, who does this regularly, is unfortunately not available, but Ian stepped up, and I really appreciate him doing this. And he will monitor and let us know if there are any questions or statements in the chat or the question and answer area. And he'll always also let us know when hands are raised. So this webinar is part of a series of webinars for people who are blind or low vision, deaf blind, or blind with other disabilities. The purpose of the series of career webinars is to provide you with tools and resources which you can use in your career exploration and career development. Each month, we will focus on other tools to use as you sort of prepare to write your resume. We're going to talk about the role of technology as you prepare for interviewing, networking, sort of success once hired. We're also going to talk about self-employment. So please look out for future announcements about upcoming webinars and join us. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to invite my co-presenter, Marianne, to introduce herself.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. This is Marian Gilmore, and I am the Workforce Development Specialist at the Carroll Center for the Blind in Newton, Massachusetts. I am a Caucasian woman. I do have sight. I am so happy to join Cheryl. We've known each other for many years back in Massachusetts as well. And I've been working in this field for many years. And I hope to share information with you tonight or today to assist you in finding employment. Thank you for inviting me, Cheryl.
Oh, likewise, Marian. I'm so excited that you accepted the invitation. And I really appreciate it, knowing that I think this is one of your busiest times of the year. So thank you so much for really sort of going a little beyond and above and beyond. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about the purpose of this session. And the purpose of this session is to discuss the interest profiler and other sort of OStarNet tools provided by the Department of Labor. Whether someone is looking for a first job or is looking for a next job, these tools provide a job seeker with valuable information which can be used to better sort of guide the job search process. One of the gurus of career exploration and development, Richard Bowles, the author of What Color is Your Parachute, noted that the informed job seeker is powerful because they approach the job market self-aware, knowledgeable, and focused. Um, so by the end of this particular webinar, we want you to know all about the interest profiler, its results and the use of the results, and to explore career options. And to be able to look at career options related to the skills in education and the future sort of prospect of a career. So everything that's connected to the interest profiler and other tools. You will also know, as he's mentioned, some additional tools on the OStarNet website. So one thing is, even though we will be sort of presenting the tools one after the other, the truth is that sort of depending on where you are in your job search, you can sort of select any of these tools and use it to meet your particular needs. So we're going to start by talking about the interest profiler. So we have a question. I don't know, Marianne, do you want to do the question or do you want me to do it?
I'm happy to field the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's see. Does that come on my chat area?
Oh, well, right now I'll ask the question, then I think Ian can tell us if anybody's raised their hand.
Oh, sure. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, before we get started, we'd love to know if anyone here has ever used the interest profiler and sort of how did you use it, use the information in your job search process? Or has anybody heard about the interest profiler? So no hands?
No hands yet.
Okay.
Well, that's good then. We can teach a lot, and this will be a new tool for you guys to use when you're looking for work. So
All right. Excellent. Yep, you're so correct. So there is a link to the website, and we'll share that with you when we send out the follow-up email. So the interest profiler is an assessment tool which you can use to identify types of work that match sort of your particular interests. It is an easily understood tool that asks you to be honest with yourself and to answer the questions as if there aren't any barriers or any sort of limitations. So I think what that means is, a lot of times for this particular tool, when you look at the questions, it's not like, do you have the skills? Can you do it? It's really truly sort of like, if you could, would you sort of want to do this? So when you use the link and you first launch the page, you have to go through a few pages before you actually get to the questions. But those pages are important because they give you instructions on sort of how you're going to take the respond to the interest profiler. They describe what it is and encourage you to take your time answering the questions. And I think this is one of the most important things it mentions as you're sort of getting to the questions. It reminds you that this is not a test. So there aren't any wrong answers because you're really talking about yourself. It is truly a chance for you to think about different activities and whether you would answer that the activity is something you strongly dislike, you're not sure, so you choose unsure, something you like, or something you strongly like. So there are 60 questions, and although that sounds like a lot, you will finish sooner than I think you think. Um, Marianne, you've used this with a lot of people. Like, what do you think has been like the longest time someone has taken to respond to this tool?
The longest I would say would really be about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
It doesn't really go much longer than that.
right,
And people seem to have a lot of fun doing it. And so it's less like a chore and it's more like a curiosity about yourself.
right, right. So, and as I said, it moves along quickly. So after answering all of the questions, you get your results, and they look something like this. So it's a category. It says realistic, and then there's a number. So realistic, 15. Investigative, 27. Artistic, 5. Social, 9. Enterprising, 23. And conventional, 7. The good thing here is that once you get your results, you can save them and you can share them. You can email them to yourself or you can email them to someone that you're working with. And then you can go back and sort of continue the process. So I'm going to turn it over to Marianne to tell us more about sort of the results and help us understand what they mean.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Sure.
Uh, and you know, when you get your results, sometimes we're surprised, but a lot of times we're like, huh, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So when we look at the realistic, this category talks to people that have conventional interests. They're practical and down to earth. Very often these people will work with their hands, use machines and tools. They're suited for work in things like agriculture, construction, transportation, maintenance, and manufacturing. So that's kind of the realistic people. Okay, we're going to look at enterprising. So enterprising, you know, you kind of think of business, the business world, initiatives with business, sales, marketing and advertising, finance, management administration, professional advising, public speaking, politics, or law. So that kind of gathers quite a few. Investigative. Those are interests like work activities that have to do with ideas and thinking more than the physical activity. People in this category like to search for facts and figure out problems mentally rather than to persuade or lead people. Conventional. So this person really likes to follow procedures and regulations. I think as I say these, you're going to think to yourself, huh, that sounds like me. So they're going to organize information or data, typically in a business setting. Conventional occupations are often associated with office work, accounting, mathematics and statistics, information technology, finance, or human resources. And that's, you know, you might say, well, human resources, that's a lot more to do with, you know, is that really conventional? But they have, you know, you think of benefits and those types of things. Artistic interests. People with artistic interests like work activities that deal with the artistic side of things, such as forms, designs, and patterns. They like self-expression in their work. They prefer settings where work can be done without following a clear set of rules. And sometimes it's how we approach our job too. Maybe we're the brainstormy person that really loves to come up with all sorts of creative ideas. It might not mean that you're a Picasso. And what does social mean? Social people are community service oriented, interested in educational activities, prefer social interaction, and are concerned with social issues. They like to inform, enlighten, train, develop, and cure others. That's an interesting last one there. But so those are kind of, and sometimes you can, it's interesting. I worked with somebody and she actually got 0 on a couple of them. That
Mhm.
doesn't always happen, but yeah, it was very clear. Sometimes you get them and they're all kind of similar, and maybe that type of person can fit into a lot of different situations at work. So yeah, that's why I said it's kind of fun to see what it says. Um,
And I think, sometimes your results can change over time. So you might take it, when you were like just starting out and you get one type of information or one type of results. And then something's going on in life where you're like, I just want to check in again, and you take it again, and you can get a different type of results because, you've changed over time and sort of your interests have changed over time. But it's a truly sort of valuable tool. Um, and I think since like I knew that we're doing this right, aiming at being able to identify like what careers are associated, I was perhaps overly eager, and I really wanted to jump to the careers part. But before I start sort of looking at the careers, there's this job zone sort of section, and it lets you sort of check what types of education, training, and experience you need as you think about the different sort of careers. So I'm going to turn it back to Marianne to now sort of give us really specific examples of how she's used this tool in working with her clients.
so many we find ourselves many times looking for jobs. It can be overwhelming searching for meaningful work. Some of us know what we want, others of us are not really sure what we want. But for even those that know what we want, there are many questions. So what will happen is the interest profile that we took, I will do that with a client. And a lot of the clients that I work with are adjusting to vision loss. So maybe they were in a profession that they can't do exactly the same job that they could before. So we take the interest profile and we find some maybe new things about someone. For instance, the music career. There was a gentleman that, that was something that he really enjoyed. And when we did the interest profile, that came out very strong.
Mhm.
And so that gave us some hope. And we always want hope when we're looking for work, because sometimes we can, kind of say, well, I can't do that job that I used to do. But well, you still have skills and you still have abilities. So that brought us onto a path that led to an internship at a recording studio and led him to get that confidence that he had lost with his vision. So that's a kind of it for that person. For another person it was people. So we discovered for that person they wanted to do jobs where they did advocacy work,
Mhm.
and that came up after some investigation. What's helpful for people to know, and Cheryl may touch upon this as well, but so what's the job market going to be like in 5 to 10 years? And kind of what other jobs am I qualified for? What's helpful is also, does this person need more education? Some people, they're not really the book type, that going to college really isn't their thing. So sometimes you can find apprenticeship programs, and using this tool, you can find that as well. Um, you can get all the way down to finding an exact job at the end of it. But I heard you guys are going to do some resume working and probably interviews.
Mhm.
This tool actually has tasks. that you can actually put on your resume, that might help you, as well as for interviews. So it kind of displays, when you're looking at it, 5 tasks, but it'll show even more than that going in. So then you can look at related occupations as well. But I kind of put in my job is a vocational rehab counselor. So I kind of put that one in. And that's what I do for my clients. So one person, like I said, wants to do advocacy work. He said, Mary Ann, all of my career, I always did what vocational counselors told me, but I want to this time I want to do a job that doesn't just fit because I'm a hard worker. I want to work in advocacy. So he is going to be working in Boston at the it's called the Disability Policy Consortium, and
Nice.
he's very, very excited. So this was really figured out by using the interest profiler. So what we can do is we can just put in what the job is, advocacy work, and then it's going to spit up a lot of similar titles. And then we might discover, okay, where are these jobs? How much do they pay? What's the education required for? What kind of skills, abilities, and personality do you need? So that, you're thinking, Marianne, what are you talking about personality? But that's important. How do you fit in with the culture of the work? There are videos on these interest career that you can watch, and that will show you a little bit about what the person would do. So what's nice, and to answer Cheryl's question, for the people that I'm working with, there's so much information on this. And you can also learn about, well, what technology, because sometimes us social people like myself, I kind of am afraid of technology. I'm so good with people, but then my computer and we have some words sometimes. So for me, what I needed to do for technology is more, kind of the email, the connecting with people. I might not need to know, I need to know some Excel, but I don't need to be an expert on it. So
Right.
that's, and you look under electronic mail. So, so that's a little bit about what you want to do. And then, you can explore other, so say for me, I wanted voc rehab. So I could also look into child, family, and school social workers. I can look into mental health and substance abuse social worker. So there's other ones you can look that are very similar. So I think, again, we're using something that will allow the person that you're working with to have options, to have hope, and to gain information. So that's what we're using. And a lot of people get real excited about, oh, what am I going to be making? And you can put Washington State in there. You can even put your zip code of where you guys are, and it'll tell you what pay rate you're going to be making. So that gets to be fun to see that. And I'll turn over for you, Cheryl, for some.
Yeah, no, this is like, I mean, for somebody who is at a point where you're really sort of trying to figure out, as I said, if you're starting out or if you're currently working and you trying to like understand like, okay, like what are some next steps? Like I mean, this page, like once you've done the results, you've taken a look at the jobs zones and sort of understand what those mean. As I mentioned, they talk about education, training, and experience. And there are 5 sort of categories. So the first category that is there is little to no sort of education. The 5th category identifies like high, lots of experience. And so when you're on the page, when you get to this part, what pops up are like your particular results in these 5 job zones that are check boxes. And you can then, let's say your the results that I shared with you, it was high in the realistic one, it was high in the investigative one, and it was high in the enterprising one. So when I chose like zone one, the one that said little to no education, a lot of opportunities around agriculture, ecology, the environment. So these are all jobs that really, get you outside, right? Um, and there are also jobs where uh, even though you can begin with, a high school or a GED degree, there are sort of opportunities in the field to advance. And as Marion said, the page comes up and it is so chock full of information, and it is so accessible. So as Marion said, there's a video, right? So if you're like, I don't want to read this whole web page, you can listen to the video and it gives you the same information. There's like a word cloud that sort of describes some of the activities associated with the title that you've selected. And then it goes on, as Marion said, to like list out the tasks that you do. It shows you the related, similar titles. And it also gives you, wages, and education, ability, skills, tells you about the personality. I loved the fact that it tells you about technology, as Marion said, like what sort of tools, because for folks who have disabilities, you can decide like, okay, is you can do some more checking if you don't know off the top of your head, is this something that's accessible, or and then it gives you sort of other like associated um fields that you can also explore. And certainly, if you wanted to then say like, what are jobs like right now? Um, there's a button there that says find a job, and you can do that. And as Marion said, there's an option to focus on your particular state and gather that information. I got to tell you, I found that a little kludgy using my screen reader, but I was able to identify like Washington State and to look at particular information. And then um, the option to look at current positions, really fantastic, right? Because it's a chance to see sort of the way companies advertise for those positions, and to look at like what are the minimum requirements and what sort of skills and things like that that they're looking for. So this is a really amazing, accessible, and free tool that is available, that as a person who's looking for a job, you can certainly do with your counselor, or you could do it by yourself and sort of, develop your own sort of knowledge. So we're going to stop here and invite anyone who has any questions to raise your hand, and we'd love to hear sort of your thoughts about what we've been talking about so far.
No hands just yet.
Okay. So, Marion, I think you had like some specific examples. I don't know. Do you want to? Would you be willing to sort of read us through, if you wanted to focus on the vocational rehabilitation counselor,
Yes,
sort of what
yes,
that page really looks like?
yes, I'm happy to do that.
Sure.
So let's see. Okay. Um, okay. And each time you populate, there's different links that we can send you too, but it's nice because it moves you through it pretty easily. And again, Cheryl has used the screen reader part of it, and it looks like we do have Alice Bickersteth raised her hand. So Alice, I guess I can.
Oh, so I think Ian will send her the notice to unmute.
Yes, I have unmuted her. Alice, you're good to go.
Hello, good evening.
Oh, hi,
Hello.
Alice.
Hi.
Um, I love the Zoom meeting, and I just want to ask a question. Like, how would I be able to access the interest profiler on my own?
Oh, so we're gonna send you the link. And this is, as we mentioned earlier, it's a tool provided by the Department of Labor. So it's on the internet and it is completely free. So we'll send you the link that will get you to the interest profiler. And I just want you to know that the link takes you to the sort of beginning of the interest profiler, and you just have to like hit the next button, and those to get to the actual questions. And those pages that you're going through, they talk about, what it is, how it can be used, as you mentioned, sort of, encouraging you to, take your time, reminding you that it's not a test. And once it goes through all that, then the questions come up. It's 60 questions broken into like 5 pages. So you do the first set, then you hit the next button and you go. And once you actually get to the end of the whole sort of answering all the questions, there's a page that comes up and it said, oh, you had these questions that you said unsure. Do you want to like answer these, or do you just want to continue on? And as I said, it is, if you're somebody using a screen reader, it's a totally accessible process, and you just follow the instructions, and you could like say, I want to review my unsure answers, and I want to answer those, and then you go back and then you submit your responses and you get the results. So it's really easy. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Alice.
Yeah.
So I put in vocational rehab counselor. That's what I studied. And what's nice about it is it first comes up with about 5 related occupations. They similar: employment specialist, job coach, rehabilitation counselor. So those in my particular role, I actually still do all of that. So that's helpful to find that. And then, okay, so what am I going to be doing if I take a voc rehab counseling position? What about at the job? What kind of knowledge and skills do I need? Abilities and personality, technology, education, job outlook, and explore. What else is there? So what do they do? So then I won't read you everything, but it starts out by counsel individuals to maximize the independence and employability of persons coping with personal, social, and vocational difficulties that result from birth, illness, disease, accidents, aging, or the stress of daily life. So it talks about, you're going to be helping clients to vocationally get counseling and get placement. So that's kind of what they do. On the job, there's lots of things that you would do. I'm going to be working with case records and files. I'm going to be conferring with clients to discuss their options and goals and rehab plans. And then I'm going to assist in helping clients with their kind of determining what their aptitudes, education levels, and physical and career goals are. We're going to be doing this as a team. Sometimes you may do it as a VR counselor, like a state VR counselor. Some of you may have a state VR counselor. Sometimes you're doing it within an agency, like I work at the Carroll Center for the Blind. So you get a few different ways. Some people do private rehab. So I'm going to have to do customer service. So that's kind of the business part of it, and admin services. I'm going to be writing up reports and case notes. This is all under knowledge. The health part is therapy and counseling. So some of us have our CRC, so it's a certified rehabilitation counselor. So you can have third-party billing, and you can be, get a job in more in that level. So education and training is needed. For math and science, it's psychology. So I'm not going to have to do calculus. That's pretty good. Skills. Okay, what are the basic skills? Listening to others, not interrupting, asking good questions, and talking to others. I mean, that's basic what it's saying. I mean, there's more things, but social, looking for ways to help people, understanding people's reactions. So you see now this word social, and through the profile, that's one of the areas we talked about, and it's coming up again. So if your interest profile has shown that you're a social person, here's a job that is going to be perhaps for you. People and technology systems. Figuring out how a system should work and how changes in the future will affect it. And thinking about the pros and cons of different options and picking the best one. Abilities, so verbal, communicate by speaking and listening what people have to say. So that's kind of self-explanatory. Ideas and logic, notice when problems happen, use rules to solve problems. So kind of on a lot of our jobs, there's a lot of problem solving we're going to have to do. All right, personality. People interested in this work activity. They like helping people, teaching, and talking. So there's that social again, that people focus. And they have concern for others, integrity, dependability. They show initiative, persistence, and cooperation. At the Carroll Center, we're lucky we have a great group of rehab teachers, and we all work together. And that's a great way to work with people that are, that may have difficulties and want to get help in both social as well as jobs. Technology, you might use software like this on the job. Electronic mail software, email software, and Microsoft Outlook. Presentation software, Microsoft PowerPoint. You might have to do some web browsing software. So those are some ones that, are pretty basic for most jobs. Mm-hmm. We look at education. Bachelor's degree or master's degree usually needed. And, some of the jobs that you might have heard me say job coach when I first started. That is a job that people do. You don't necessarily have to have your degree yet. But if you're going to be, like I said before, a licensed vocational rehabilitation counselor, that does usually mean a master's and sitting for an exam. Okay, so we're down to, let's see, so we did the personality, technology, education, and now we're down to finding training. So maybe you don't have a degree and you're like, okay, I want to get started. Maybe you're not sure. I don't know if I want to get a master's in this, but maybe I can get some initial training or certifications. Some people, look into that. You want to check out, well, do I need to have a license? What apprenticeships? There's a lot more of those going on now, and some of those you get paid, you know, and it gives you good experience. Job outlook. So what's it going to be in 5 to 10 years? What is the salary? And then you have your kind of median salary, you have your high range, your low range, and then check out your state, see what your state has, check out the national average. And then what, like we said, what we're all kind of excited about is what jobs are in Washington State and in my area.
Exactly.
And again, then it explore more. It has a bunch of other related jobs, mental health counselor, occupational therapy, healthcare social workers. Maybe you want to work in government, and maybe there's a job that you could do in government. So those kind of give you lots of areas, and then you know, you may say to me, Marianne, I want to be an electrician. So you can kind of go through the same thing as an electrician and find out these answers of where, you know, kind of what the salary is, what kind of do I, you know, are there apprenticeships I can do? What kind of education do I need? How about personality? What are they looking for? So it's really, it used to be a huge book with all sorts of, it looked like a huge dictionary. But then, you know, we're lucky that it's on electronic now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it used to be so inaccessible.
Yes, very much so. Even for someone with vision, you just feel overwhelmed. You know,
Right,
you'd be
right.
okay, well, there it is, but I don't want to touch it.
I mean, I remember, you know, years before, like having to take somebody sighted, and it was only in the library. Yeah, and you had to physically go to the library. I remember having to take somebody sighted with me to read, and they're like, "Well, what do you want to look at?" And the question was, "Well, I don't know what's there. How am I gonna guide you in telling me what's going on?" And what a relief, right? That they've put this online and they've made it as like approachable as possible. And I just love the fact that it's available. Um, so you mentioned, I think there's a, if you could talk a little bit about this terminology, you've sort of talked about it, the bright outlook.
Yes.
What is that really like? What's that telling us?
Well, you know, sometimes we think about a job, maybe I want to, you know, maybe I want to be a kindergarten teacher, and we're wondering, okay, well, what's that like? Am I gonna find a job in the, you know, online, and there's gonna be a lot of jobs for me? And you're not too sure. Okay, you know, I don't really want to teach high school. I don't, you know, you kind of know what you want to do. And so you're like, well, I want to make sure that I can pay my bills. I have a family to run. And so you want to see, am I, this might be before you go to school and you're looking and you're saying, oh, great, there's a, you know, 5 to 10 years. This is going to be a growing field. You might try something else. Maybe it's landscaping, and you learn, okay, well, this isn't really growing right now. It also could depend where you live. So sometimes there are good jobs that for the you know, you might hear that a government job may really be a good idea with pensions and, you know, good benefits. And so sometimes there's jobs also, this is a whole other category, but Schedule A is, you know, sometimes for the government, and someone with a disability can get in there a lot quicker than someone without a disability. And so, you know, you might want to check out, okay, well, what does it look like for me for government jobs? If you get something that, you know, doesn't have much growth, and you still want to do it, you know, I think it's worth exploring and doing some like informational interviews and seeing maybe there's a an area of Washington that you know, kind of focuses on this. Maybe it's something that they're gonna also say, well, other jobs that are similar, and
Right.
maybe those have, so when you look at the, once you hear, if you do use screen reading, it's gonna kind of list about 15 or so different jobs. Some of them are gonna have this bright sun next to it, so it should read out bright outlook. So you might see, I want to be a landscaper, but maybe it says, I don't know, surveyor, and that has the bright outlook. So then you might have something like you did from your interest profiler. You might say, hey, this also fits into my interest profiler of what I really want. And it fits in with the bright outlook. Maybe I should be a little flexible and try this. So, you know, it gives you information that you might not have known otherwise. You can still have that dream job that maybe isn't the brightest outlook, but if you need something right away, and you want something that's, you know, going to be more sustainable, then you might have to make some decisions.
Right. Right. So, again, we can pause and we'll invite anyone with any questions to raise your hand. Because we're actually getting close to 5 o'clock. Um, all right, any hands?
My group today.
Yeah.
How many
Everybody-
people are gonna go out and try to use this? Have we piqued your interest in wanting to check this out?
You can raise your hand and we won't ask you to
Yes, you don't have to
speak.
speak.
Yeah. Uh,
So I find that people are, wow, I never knew about this, Mary Ann. Why didn't you
Right.
tell me about it? You know,
Right.
and it just opens a door, because looking for work is kind of like, you know, going on a journey. And,
Mhm.
you know, sometimes you just feel like you're a bit overwhelmed. And even Cheryl and I, although we do this for work, it's a journey for us each time we work with one of you. And the more that you can, you know, learn about yourself, then you can come to Cheryl and myself, hey, I went on ONET and here's what I found. And, you know, it's just going to put more tools in your tool belt. And the kind of difficulty and sometimes the you know, the overwhelming piece of finding that job, we're trying to make it so that it's not so tricky, and that this is kind of a fun way to go about it, as well as informative. So
Right.
definitely use it, and try it, and, you know, maybe even do a group exercise and see. Sometimes, you know, we've done the Myers-Briggs, you know, a lot of you might have done the Myers-Briggs before.
Mhm.
And you might kind of look at this as almost, oh, let's see, what am I? Am I someone who's more social than artistic, or more conventional? So I think it's important to kind of look at it and have some fun with it, as well as information.
Oh yeah, and it totally helps you, right? Because sometimes, like, once you start reaching out to your network and saying, you know what, I'm looking for a job, isn't it? It's so much easier for people to help you if you can say, I know that I'm interested in this field and I'm looking for this type of work. And this sort of helps you to have that information, right? Because part of it is, I think if you don't know that about yourself, then people can say, well, I know about a job and it might not be something that you really want to do. It might or be something that they just know about. Um, and to have this information, then you get right, you're approaching the job market, as Richard Bowles said, like self-aware, knowledgeable, and focused. And in being focused doesn't mean inflexible, but it certainly means, with more information and a little more ability to guide others who might want to help you. So,
And
so
sometimes I'll say something quick.
mhm.
Sometimes we go to employers and we think we're doing well by saying, oh, I'm open for anything. But, you know, it does confuse employers a little bit, because they want you to have some kind of thought of what a focus might be. So this is going to help you with that.
Absolutely. So we're almost at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to open it up again and invite anyone here to raise your hand and to ask any questions about anything that we've talked about so far this evening. And we're family. So there's no as I said, you can ask anything and we will, um so all right.
So good. Well, it was great, being able to speak to you guys in Washington. And, there's a lot happening in Massachusetts. If anyone ever is around the Carroll Center, just look me up. I'm happy to give you a tour of our center, or, just say hello. And I'm, again, the networking, if I'm happy to network if somebody's interested in, we have tons of interesting positions at the Carroll Center. We have even someone that teaches our students how to fence, and we have a sensory arts teacher. We have, a lot of orientation mobility. So if you're thinking about working at a center like the Carroll Center, I'm happy to have myself or a coworker be that network for you, and give you information.
Oh, thank you, Marianne. That is so generous. And likewise, I'm here at the Lighthouse. And if anybody wants to reach out to me with any questions or any sort of information, about the Lighthouse, please feel free.
Yeah,
So, um, so let's sort of wrap up. Maybe I know we've talked about this before, but I mean, so Marianne, if you had to list maybe 2 or 3 sort of overall benefits of the somebody using the interest profile, what would you say?
I would say informative, knowing information about yourself as well as the job market, information that's going to be helping you at your interviews, writing your resumes, and I guess on a roadmap to success.
All right, I agree. I'm not going to add anything to that because I think that is actually pretty thorough. So we are coming to the end of this webinar, and I want to really thank Marianne for joining me and sharing her knowledge and experience with us today. I also want to thank our ASL interpreters. As always, you guys do a fantastic job. And I also want to thank Ian for joining us in hosting and stepping up. So thank you all so much for being here. I also want to thank you, our attendees. Just tell you that I really, truly, deeply appreciate you choosing to join us today, and I hope that this information gives you another tool which you can use in your particular career exploration and development. So and please look for an announcement of our next webinar, which we're going to talk about skills and identifying those, and that's in August. So thank you all so much for being here, and have a good evening.
Thank you for inviting me, Cheryl. We're erasing the Midwest because Cheryl and I, Massachusetts and Washington will be close to each other because of this webinar.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Bye.
See you next month. Bye-bye.